Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I am not doing what I said I would be doing in the last video, but instead just painting kind of a casual sketch in my sketchbook made for me by my friend Spofgh. And this one is using Bockingford tinted watercolor paper in gray. The watercolor I'm using is a Gallo. I did buy some new a Gallo paints not terribly long ago, and I haven't really used them all yet, so it was definitely time to play with some of the new colors, including Nocturno, which I use on the jacket and then like go into a serious ugly painting phase. I definitely had fun playing with some of the granulation in this one though, because I haven't really let the paint do its own thing yet for some of these colors, and I forgot how granulating some of them are. It's pretty exciting. So this sketch is really just that, a sketch. I wanted to keep it simple this week because I had a lot going on. So both work, I had some work to do this weekend, and just trying to wrap up this readathon. I know I said in the last video that I would be doing another fan art from a book and doing a wrap up of the readathon, Realmathon, but I just didn't read that much during the second part of the month, and I wasn't really feeling the fan art thing. I definitely want to do more book fan art in the future, but it just wasn't the right time. I wasn't really feeling it, and I was pretty distracted. Part of the reason I didn't read as much, I just, once again, working a lot, and then I wasn't really feeling great. I'm totally recovered now. Just needed some downtime to recover from all the stress of late, which is starting to get better, so that's good. Beyond that, I don't really have too much going on, so I guess just a quick recap of the books I did read during the second part of Realmathon, just in case anybody's here to hear about that, and I do apologize for not having bookish fan art to go along with it. But yeah, the first one I had, or the one I finished with in the last video, I said I was going to be starting next, Prelude to Ashes by Tiago Abdallah. I did finish that, and I did go right into his first full-length novel in the series, which was called A Touch of Light, and that one I'm not quite done with yet. I have about 30 more pages, and I will finish that right after finishing this voiceover, so I will definitely have it done in time because it is still the 30th. I'm good. It's a little late, but that's okay. I just went blank on the other books I read. The other ones were audiobooks. I had started and finished Ghost Story by Peter Straub. I'd been wanting to read more of his works for like a really long time and kind of forgot about it. And then when he passed away last year, I was like, I really do need to read some of his books. So I had picked this one up, hadn't started it yet, and definitely had some mixed feelings on it. It's definitely dated, and it was such a slow book to start. It really did come together at the end, but I still don't know if it was really worth it. Very mixed feelings there. And then I also read another T. Kingfisher book, which was The Seventh Bride, which was kind of a retelling of Bluebeard. And yeah, that one was just like a really quick, fast-paced, dark fairy tale again. And it was pretty much what I needed, just something quick and easy to digest. And I enjoyed it. I didn't think the ending was that good, but I thought it was fun and quirky, and yeah, I think I'm becoming a fan of T. Kingfisher. I'll probably pick up another one soon. So, with having read some darker books between Ghost Story and The Seventh Bride really wasn't dark, but it is a darkish fairy tale. And the gloomy weather of late, it was just like non-stop storms this week. Lots of thunder, lightning. My area got hail, but we got really lucky and didn't have any tornado warnings. Luckily, didn't get any of that either. Yeah, it was just a really gloomy week, so I kind of wanted to do something a little moodier for a painting, and that's why I chose the gray paper. I figured that was a good starting point. Man, this is such like an ugly phase of this painting. It gets better, I promise. But yeah, that's kind of all that went into this. Was like, I'm going to paint something a little moodier, and somehow ended up with like the white hair again. I guess I know I really liked white hair at one point in art. Like, I like doodling white haired people, and I think it was just popular for a while when I first started getting into watercolor. Maybe it's still popular, I don't know. And yeah, I feel like I'm getting back into that because I'm just now realizing I also painted someone with white hair in my last video. So that wasn't really by design here. I think I knew she was going to have white hair going in. Nah, I guess I didn't. It just kind of landed on it. But I'll do something different for my next video. But yeah, still really don't have much to say about this one. I really do love that Yinmin blue granulation on the leaves on the right. Just such a pretty texture. The jacket was definitely more granulating, that Nocturno. A little bit more granulating than I bargained for, so definitely went over it with a more opaque paint, the periwinkle, at some point, and that kind of helps even it out quite a bit. But yeah, this was just, I really needed something to just kind of turn off and enjoy the process. I definitely was busy, definitely was in a rush. So I think this took me maybe 2 hours. It wasn't really a long painting, but it was a fun process and I enjoyed it. Minus the jacket, which I felt I totally messed up. And then otherwise, I guess the important news is that I signed up for Justin Donaldson's oil painting course. He just announced it, I think, last week, and I immediately had to sign up. He had mentioned possibly doing an oil painting course quite some time ago, maybe even back in 2020. And I've mentioned before that I've been interested in oil painting, but also moderately terrified of oil painting, and that still holds true. But I always felt that I would need a class or a workshop or something to get me started to teach me the basics, because I feel there's a lot to learn about oil painting and it's so very different from the other media I work with that I really wanted some guidance, and it was just a perfect opportunity. I'm still like afraid of oil painting in a way, so that's like the big two would be the solvents, which I'm going to try to paint solvent free. I considered going water mixable oils, but I think if I'm going to do oils, I want to try, especially in a course where I have that structure and ability to ask questions and get feedback, I want to go traditional. And then, but there is the solvent free option, so I'm going to try solvent free. But the other thing is the drying slow, which is both awesome and terrifying because I'm very clumsy and my cat like ejects fur everywhere in the house. So yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work out. I did buy an easel though, so I finally have like a real easel. I'm very excited about that. And I spent last week outside of work decluttering the loft. The loft is really just an open room upstairs without like a front wall and door, so it's just at the top of the stairs. It's called a loft. It's not a proper traditional loft, but I cleaned out that area. It was a massive storage area, so it's finally been cleaned, decluttered, deep cleaned, because it was really kind of getting dusty up there. And now I have like an actual workspace with an easel and a little table for my palette, and I'm so excited to try it out. I feel like a proper little artist. It's by the window, so I'm still gonna have plenty of ventilation, even going solvent free. I want to be safe. And yeah, I'm super nervous and excited about trying all this out. It's gonna be very different for me. I don't have any immediate plans to film up there because I don't have my setup up there, and the lighting is going to be possibly more inconsistent, especially with oils being glossy. If I put a light up there and put it at the wrong angle, it's going to be impossible to see. And I'm also super new to it. I've never touched oil paints before, so I don't want the added pressure of trying to record it. But maybe one day. It is possibly going to have impacts on this channel, just taking the class. We'll see if I get too busy to do something for this as well, so we'll play by ear. The course starts at the end of May, and I'll link to it below in case anybody's interested in looking into it, whether you want to take it yourself or you're just curious what I'm talking about. Yeah, so that'll be big for me. The other thing is, I know I've been talking about like my little personal project, which is, well, one of my study projects for the year is to paint people of different skin tones, different ethnicities, people that aren't just white, you know, like I'm doing again right now. And I kind of hit a wall there, and it's what I've done so far I'm really happy with, but I'm not putting them out at a speed I thought I would, so it's taking a lot more time, and I don't really have a printer. So like, we have a nice printer that's out of ink and probably needs a massive declogging at this point, for the ink that was still in there. I haven't bought new ink. And then we have a crappy printer that can barely print a good copy of a document, so I have to rely on like a laptop or a phone for reference images. And at the end of the day, after being at work all day, I don't want to look at a screen anymore. I need to break from having screen time and having to rely on an image when you're trying to capture someone's likeness. You can't just like go off on a tangent so much. It's exhausting for me. So I have nothing against using reference, or like even in full or in part. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, for me, I need to disconnect from the screen at times. I mean, I get headaches too. I need less screen time. So being completely dependent on an image to try to capture someone's likeness, it's just too much for me. And I've lost motivation. So I'm going to put that project on hiatus for now, and we'll see what happens. I might not come back to it exactly. I might have hit a point where it's time to start applying some of what I've learned and try to create like random stuff, like little characters or whatever, that just has people that aren't white. And that way I'm forced to get out of my comfort zone and not just copy an image, but apply what I've learned, and then hopefully I could cement it more. Because that's the other thing about copying. You can do it very like consciously and really learn from it, or you could fall into like just autopilot and copy without putting too much conscious thought into it. And when that happens, you don't always internalize it, so it's harder to reproduce later without the reference. So yeah, we'll see. Oh, Juno says hi. So we'll see what I do from here. We'll take it by one day at a time. And it's overdue for me to go to bed, says Juno. So I better get going. I hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves. And yeah, I guess I will talk to you in a future video. Bye.